Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Cosgrove, and welcome to A Conversation with an Expert. You know, we're all kind of locked down or working from home or working remotely these days, and I wanted to take this as an opportunity to have a conversation with some of the really smart people I'm lucky enough to know. And I thought I'd kick it off today with one of my favorite people. He's my doctor, Dr. Taufiq. So, Taufiq, thank you so much for being here today. It's a real pleasure to have this conversation.
Hi, Mark.
So why don't
Thanks for
you
having
tell
me.
us a little bit about yourself? Give us your own introduction.
Hi. So basically, I'm a general practitioner. My clinic is located at Somerset, Orchard Road in Singapore, and also with a special interest in men's health, and especially now with the COVID-19 going on. So I'm also trying my best to educate people about what's going on, how best to take care of yourself, and stay healthy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, that's part of why we wanted to have this conversation today. You know, I guess the the main topic today is really just going to be how do we stay fit? How do we stay sane? How do we stay healthy? You know, some of us are in pretty extraordinary circumstances right now. You know, with regards to work and where we're working. You know, it's pretty weird times for a lot of people. So I just wanted to kind of check in and see what can we do to be efficient and sane and healthy in this time period.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's the best time to talk about it. I hear that you yourself is stuck at home.
Yeah, thanks to meeting up with somebody about a week ago. I'm fine and I'm
Mm,
healthy, so don't anybody
mm,
worry.
mm,
But about a week
mm.
ago, I had lunch with somebody who subsequently tested positive for COVID. So the
Mm.
Singapore government has asked me to stay home. So I'm in a quarantine order, which basically means for people outside of Singapore, I cannot leave my apartment. And if I do,
Mm.
and they catch me, I can go to jail or I can be fined a lot of money. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. It's like, you know what? We shouldn't be putting people at risk. If there's any possibility whatsoever that somebody could have come in contact, stay home, isolate. We all need to do our part to kind of, you know, put a pin in this, flatten that curve, and make sure we all get to come out of this on the other side healthy.
Yeah,
I'm not complaining. I've stocked up on canned goods and I'm good for my quarantine.
that's good. So well, you're definitely not alone. Even though in Singapore we're still not in a state of lockdown yet, and I think there are millions of people around the world who are going through something similar or even more strict than what you're going through.
Mhm.
And I think even more so than before, it becomes really important to figure out how to stay healthy, especially when you are stuck at home.
So let's talk about that. What are some things we can do
Mm.
to stay healthy in our house?
Okay, so there's quite a lot of things, but I narrowed it down to a few key points. I will start with three main points. Number one would be to stay active. And I
Hmm.
think being stuck at home, sometimes you tend to be not so active, you tend to sit longer, or you just tend to be watching TV and things like that. So staying active is very important because you don't want to become more lazy or more tired, and this may also affect your immune system. So you still want to be active, try to walk around more, stand more. Also, there are now more home workout options available on YouTube, on social media. So just have a regular routine of working out on a daily basis since we have more time at home anyway, and just stay as active as you can. So that's
Yeah.
number one, stay active.
Well, and we all know the connection between physical fitness and mental health as well. Like it actually helps your mental health to
Yeah.
exercise. So it's,
Yes.
it's not just the physical side.
Yes, yes, for sure. So number two, like you mentioned, you stocked up your house with canned food. So number two, eating well is important. Uh, of course, given the situation, sometimes canned food or processed food might be easier or more accessible.
Hmm.
If you can, try to cook your own food if possible. Try to avoid processed food if you can.
Hmm.
However, if you can't, then try to make sure you also have access to multivitamins or supplements because you wouldn't be able to have the right nutrients from processed food and canned food. So eating well and eating on a regular basis, not just snacking all the time or eating anytime you want. Regular meals, avoid snacking, and keep it as healthy as possible. That would definitely help.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that regularity is important too, because then you know you just want to stay on a schedule that you know on a regular schedule. You don't want to get into kind of just eating a cake at 3 in the morning and you know or doing whatever ridiculous thing just simply because you feel
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. Or just keep on snacking while you're watching Netflix. You know,
Yeah, just
not a good idea.
yeah, Netflix and
So
snacks. Um, yeah, and I think for me one of the things too is with the exercise and the eating, it actually helps to regulate my sleep cycle. Because then
mm,
the exercise helps me get tired so that I want to go to bed. And the meals, it makes sense. Okay, I'm up. This is breakfast, and there's. So
mm.
I would
And
imagine that sleep is
yeah,
important.
exactly. And sometimes when you are stuck at home, you may tend to sleep later or go to bed later
Mm,
or also wake up later and sleep in longer, which is not good because it will disrupt your sleep cycle. You may feel sluggish, and then it becomes a vicious cycle. And then you might even lose track of time, and things like that. So
yeah.
it's not really a good idea to disrupt your sleep cycle and disrupt your whole routine. So try to sleep regularly, keep it at the good early time, keep it at least 6 to 8 hours of good sleep, and wake up at the same time as well.
Yeah, I think that's really critical because it starts to kind of lead to our next topic that I wanted to talk about, which is the mental or emotional health aspect
Mm,
of it.
mm,
I
mm.
mean, I'm surprisingly, I'm an introvert. I'm actually quite happy to be by myself a lot of the time.
Okay,
And most
that's
people
good.
don't believe that because of what I do for a living. But really, I'm actually pretty good by myself. But even I can get kind of like cabin fever and a little bit like, oh my God, I need to talk to somebody. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's really important that I think one thing for me is to stay connected socially.
yeah.
Like just this morning, I had a Zoom call with two of my best friends back in Canada. So it was finishing their evening and they were winding down for the night. So we had a nice little Zoom chat and it was great. We
Mm,
had this conversation, just catching up and gossiping and doing whatever. And I think that's
mm.
a really important thing is to kind of like make sure we still stay connected. Do you think?
Yeah, first of all, mental health is very important, especially now,
Hmm.
because when you're stuck at home, especially if you're alone, it's just you and yourself and your mind. So you may be lacking a lot of other external inputs that is helping to nourish your mental health.
Hmm.
So one of the things that you just mentioned is social connectedness, because we are not allowed to interact with others outside. So we definitely will be lacking that social connectedness.
Hmm.
And now I would say thankfully for this kind of technology like Zoom and all these online platforms, it allows us to still connect with people. In fact, I've seen people who have bingo nights or movie Netflix parties on this online platform, and I think it's a great way to really get through this together. You can even have workouts together. Basically, imagine bringing everything that you do normally outside,
Hmm.
but bring it online.
Absolutely. So what else can we do for our mental and emotional health? Any other ideas?
And the other things that affect our mental health is being anxious or panicking about what's going on.
Yeah.
So, especially every day, when you see what's on the news, you get a bit worried or paranoid whether it's going to happen to you or what's going to happen next, what the government's going to do next. So it's all these things that's happening around us may cause us to feel anxious and just worried about what's going
Hmm.
to happen next. So it's important to stay calm
Yeah.
and stay positive, because we cannot control a lot of things. We cannot control what happens
Hmm.
outside, but we only can control how we respond.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
my advice. And mm,
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, a couple of things I would say as part of that is I limit. Well, first of all, choose your sources of information. Like get
yes,
really like don't listen to every gossip. I mean, Facebook is
WhatsApp,
what
Facebook.
get to good sources. If you can trust your local government sources, and some of us can, depending on where we live, and some of us cannot.
Yes,
Trust international news sources. Get a different perspective.
yes,
BBC is always pretty good. CBC in Canada, like find the right news sources in your country, and then limit yourself.
mm,
Like
mm,
don't obsessively try to parse the data and read every article about it because, like you said,
mm,
we can't do anything about it. I can't stop
yeah,
anything. So
yeah,
all I'm going to do is make myself anxious about
yes,
the economy or my health or other people's health. Is like I read the news, I stay up to date, I take precautions, and then I get the hell off. And honestly, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I just log on to websites and look at pictures of kittens and puppies just to calm my nerves a little bit.
yeah. Whatever works.
Whatever
Exactly.
works, right?
Yeah,
And I think
and
meditation is good. Yoga
yes,
is good for some
definitely.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think now's
Obviously.
a good time to pick up new hobbies.
Hmm,
Like if you've never tried meditation because you're too busy now, you have a lot more time.
yeah.
So pick up like meditation or learn a new skill or read all those books that's been waiting in
Hmm,
your on your bookshelf that's been
yeah.
waiting to read. So a lot of suddenly you can explore more things that you always wanted to do, you never actually considered doing.
Yeah, and for those of us who have a spiritual side, this also might be a time to pray and reflect. Um,
Yes, yes,
a friend of
definitely.
mine in Canada is a priest, and he, like me, came in contact with somebody, so he had to go into lockdown. So he's an extrovert, and he's takes care of people, and he's a natural caregiver. But in this 2 weeks, he's been by himself, so he's treated it as a spiritual retreat.
Mm,
So he's been reflecting
yeah.
and praying, and for him, it's been an amazing experience to really reconnect with his faith. So for those of us who have that in our lives, I think that's also something we can do.
Yeah, I agree. There's a because recently because the mosques were closed in Singapore, so a lot of people were lost or were frustrated and were angry or
Mm,
they were just not sure what to do with this sudden change in
mm.
their lifestyle. So even our Muslim leader, the Mufti, advised us to spend this time to be the best way to reconnect with your religion and your
I think
spirituality again. Yeah,
the other aspect though is working from home. So, I mean, I guess that's not a
yeah,
job you
yeah.
can do.
Yeah, I wish I could work from home, but not yet, not at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
But I think people like you definitely can share some thoughts or tips on how you stay productive because some may say that working from home is counterproductive. Some say working from home is making you lazy or not as effective as when you're in the office. So maybe you
Yeah,
can share something.
yeah. I think probably for most of my career, I've worked remotely. Let's say whether it's from home or a remote office or on the road. And I think a lot of the stuff we've already talked about applies. I think number one, if you want to stay productive or be productive when you're working from a home office or in isolation, you have to have a schedule. Get up, have your breakfast, do exactly what we've just talked about doing.
Mm,
Get up
mm,
on
yeah,
time, have your breakfast. Don't sign into your computer at 7 a.m. You don't do that normally.
yeah,
Don't do that.
yeah,
Have your
yeah.
breakfast, take care of yourself, have a shower, get dressed. Don't sit
Yes,
around in your jammies all day.
yes.
Um, and then go to work. So then you sit down.
Mm,
Here I am. It's just a home office. I got a little bed over there when I take a nap. I got my files and whatever. But then, and then I take my coffee break. So at 10:30, I'll leave my room. I'll go and I'll have a tea or a coffee or something. So get on a schedule and keep to that same schedule that you were operating on. I think that's critical because when you're in work mode, you're working, and when you're in home mode, you're at home and you're relaxing.
yep.
Take breaks. Don't shortchange your lunch hour. If you're gonna go and
Mm,
have a nutritious lunch, I mean, like think about it. Normally, you'd get up from your desk, you'd go down with your colleagues, you'd go to a restaurant or a hawker center, buy your lunch, sit, chat, have all of that. Do that or the equivalent to that if you're working from home.
mm,
So
mm.
don't just like go to the kitchen, make a sandwich, come back to your desk and munch your sandwich while you're answering emails. That's not healthy physically or mentally
Mm,
or
yeah,
emotionally.
yeah,
And then at the end of the day, you'll feel this sense of anxiousness, like I didn't get enough done. So take your break. And yeah, get on Zoom with your colleagues and say, hey, let's all have lunch today at 12:30 and sit and
yeah,
gossip
yeah,
about what's happening.
yeah.
Um, and that's I guess the last point about being productive from home. You have to intentionally insert all the normal things that would happen automatically. So what I mean is, if you're in an office, you'll wander over to your colleague's desk, ask a question, you'll catch up about a couple of projects you're working on, or you'll check in with your boss and you say, hey boss, I got a question about this, and what should I do about that? And so all of those things which happen because we just see each other around the office
Mm,
won't happen automatically. So
yep.
one thing I recommended in an article I wrote a little while ago is have every morning call with your boss or every afternoon call, 5 minutes, just a quick check-in. One, it just does all of that. It replaces some of that kind of chat. But two, it reminds your boss that you're working, right? So it's
Yeah.
psychologically saying, hey boss, I'm here working hard, buddy. I got my stuff going on and I just so it's
Yeah.
important because let's face it, Tafiq, in some cultures, certainly out here in Asia, a lot of businesses don't understand how people can be productive unless they're in the direct line of sight of their boss. I mean, it's a bit
Yes.
old-fashioned
Yes.
sometimes. So,
Yeah.
have a call with your boss once or twice a day and your colleagues, and just make sure you insert these kinds of meetings so that you get FaceTime with your colleagues. So that's how you be productive from home. And then when 6 o'clock or whatever your knockoff time is rolls around, shut your computer down and you're finished for work from work.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Those are very good ideas, good
yeah,
tips.
and maybe eventually we'll do all of our doctor visits remotely, but for now
Yeah, okay.
you've got to go to work.
Yeah, yeah. So even then, we are also trying to do more telemedicine in the
Sure.
future. So
Yes,
maybe that will work.
absolutely. Well, Taufiq, look, it's been a great conversation with you today. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. I
it's
think
nice.
the people watching the video got some pretty good ideas about how to manage themselves and their time and their mental health at home. So if people want to
Thank
get in
you.
touch with you, Taufiq, I'll put it all at the end of the video, but just tell us how can, if somebody's looking for a GP, if somebody's looking for some advice on men's health in Singapore, how can they get in touch with you?
You can send me an email, Taufiq, Taufiq, at dtapclinic.com. DTAPCLINIC.com.
Fabulous. And I'll put all that up at the end of the video. So thanks very much.
I'd like to thank Dr. Taufiq Rashid for joining me for the first conversation with an expert. I hope this conversation's been useful for you too, and that you've learned some things that are going to keep you a little bit more sane, a little bit more healthy and happy during what's an extraordinary time for all of us. Please join me next week for another conversation with an expert. And in the meantime, please feel free to visit my website, www.markcosgrove.com, where you can find out a little bit more about the training and development work I do, both online and in person, when the circumstances allow it, and about the kind of training and development work we do for companies and individuals in the APAC region.